The Clemson spring game is over. It's been a few days. It's Tuesday. Well, as of right now, if you watch it in the future, it'll be another day. And there are some major division, or there is major division among Clemson fans. And I'm going to dive into that in just a second. I'm Brian Knight. I'm not Bobby Durkins. If you are, well, not right now. If you're brand new here, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. If you love Clemson football, definitely hit the subscribe button, even if you hate my guts and think I'm terrible. You're welcome. You can get here. You can come here and let all the hate out. Okay, so let me dive into the spring game. We know a bunch of players were out. A bunch of players. XT didn't play. A lot of the wide receivers were out. Okay, we get this. Let's go ahead and barf this all up. Let's go ahead and get it out of our system. So a lot of players were missing. Sheridan Jones didn't play. Will Shipley didn't play. That really helped out Dominique Thomas. I think we're all very happy to see Dominique Thomas doing his thing. And we understand that this is a spring game. So I'm going to go ahead and state two sides. So there's two sides of the Clemson fan base right now. This is not make-believe. You can go look on fan boards. You can look on pages like mine. You can go to the video that I did. Shameless, selfless plug. Parker Henderson just made it. Good to see you there, sir. Good to see you. One of the Henderson sisters is here. But I want you to hear me, and I want you to understand why I'm saying this. If you go on my video that I did the other day, you will see the comment section, and the comment section says one thing, that we have been divided into two groups. Here's group one. Group one says we're missing a bunch of players. This is a glorified practice. Of course, Riley and Sweeney are not going to show their plays on a nationally televised practice. Everybody's too caught up in the hoopla. Garrett Riley has been there for 5 minutes. It's not a big deal. Cade Klubnik, well, the reason he was pressured and this, that, and the other is because he had to run around because of the rules of a spring game. They don't want to hurt the starting quarterback, and thank God they don't. So if they barely even nicked him, they would call him down. They would call it a sack, which we know in a real game. I mean, you're going to have to get a hold of a quarterback that's playing Major D1 football. You're just not going to touch them. You're just going to drop like some type of dead animal, especially if they're mobile like him. So that's one side. Because one side says, look, we're totally overreacting. But on the other side is an argument that is made understanding that. Now, some don't. Some they're not being logical. I agree. But then some of the reason for the argument, I hate to say it, is extremely valid. The other side is saying, well, Dabo was begging us all to come out to the glorified practice. And I know it's for team support. I know it's to have everybody jazzed up to see Garrett Riley and the team, but there was a lot of players missing. And that's what you have to show us? Garrett Riley's going to run the same offense that Brandon Streeter ran? And I know for some of you sitting out there, you're like, it was totally different. And you got to understand, Brian, I almost call myself Bobby there, but you got to understand, Brian, that he's not going to show this. Let me tell you what this has done, though. I agree with you. He shouldn't. Our first 3 ball games, Clemson should be able to line up and run the most Manila offense in the world, and Florida State not have 1 ounce of film on us whatsoever. Florida State should not have 1 ounce of film on what we can actually do. That's game number 4 in Death Valley. Florida State's hyped up. Now, their very first game of the year is against LSU. Yes, it's in Orlando. LSU has revenge on their mind. But Florida State is the diaper dandy of the ACC right now. They're the team that everybody wants to see play after the recruiting and the transfer portal. After last season, they have Jordan Travis back, fifth-year senior, the Louisville transfer. Everybody is believing that Florida State is back, and they may very well be. Time will tell. But Clemson should be able to line up and play a generic offense and not show anything to Florida State until they play Florida State. And if that is the case, wonderful. Go I formation. We have 4 running backs who are obviously capable. What a wonderful problem to have. Just cycle them in. My son was saying that. He was like, just if I were y'all, I would just cycle them in. And it's just like these running backs are not tired because there's so many of them. I mean, Shipley will have more production from being well rested. But I'm telling you, folks, this spring practice with a bunch of players out and then running the same plays that it looked like Streeter ran has scared some people. And you can tell them, oh, just get over it. Why? Just like you want to tell them 4 years ago when you hear that 4 years ago. 4 years ago. It's been that long since Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne went in and played with T. Higgins and a bunch of other talented people. Isaiah Simmons on the defensive side went in and played LSU, was up 17-7. And as Tony Elliott infamously said, we forsook the run. How do you forsake the run with Travis Etienne in your backfield? And Lynn J. Dixon was playing for us then too. So like, how does that happen? How does that happen? It was poor coaching. But everybody told me and a few others, which there are very few of us, that said this was a coaching. You come back to, oh, well, look at that LSU team, man. They were so stacked, and they named out all these great players. We had a bunch of great players. It was poor coaching. I'm sorry. But, okay, that's one game. But the very next season, you played against who? Played against Ohio State. And yeah, Ohio State was good, but my Lord, poor offensive coaching. Well, Streeter was calling the plays. Streeter was calling the plays because Tony was sick. Folks, I'm just telling you straight up, I get why there are people right now who are freaking out in Clemson, afraid that this might very well be our offense. Because a lot of us who has half a brain at least can look at the offense over the past couple of years, especially last year, and go, how can someone being paid that much money call that mediocre of plays with that much talent? How? And folks, so before you go stoning your Clemson brethren who's worried about a glorified practice, you might want to step back and at least chill out for a second before you lose it on them. Now, do I think that Garrett Riley was a bad hire? That's not what I'm saying. No. I'm just saying this glorified practice did more harm for Clemson's fans than probably what a lot of people thought. Than what probably even Sweeney estimated. And Sweeney, of course, is going to come out because he's paid $11 million a year. He has 2 national championships under his belt. He has six consecutive college football playoff appearances in a row, which has been a few years since we've been there because the poor coaching hires finally caught up to him. But he has that. He has all these 10-win seasons in a row. Yes, folks, we have to give him leeway. I mean, he's the man. He's done more for Clemson than anyone. But you can't tell me that you're not a little bothered at what you saw. I mean, you can't. You can't tell me that it didn't bother you that if we're going to have this glorified practice and it's going to be televised. I know it's the ACC network, but they know their audience. They know exactly who's going to tune into it. It's not like the Colorado Buffalo's, who's going to have their spring game on ESPN this weekend. Which, by the way, if you look at their season tickets already, man, they're expensive. People are really, really excited for Colorado football. But if you're going to tell people, hey, I want you to come out to the practice, I want you to come see, oh man, you got to come out here and support the team, and then you do that, man, that's rough. I mean, that's a tough sell. And they were trying to get people to beat the deadline, or to meet the deadline, excuse me. If you wanted season tickets and you wanted to buy season tickets, and the deadline was like what, the next day, next couple of days, and you want to try to sell people on buying season tickets, and you just showed them your football team with a sparkly brand new offensive coordinator. And now you finally know that Cade is going to be the man. Everybody wants to see Peter Woods, but you're missing a bunch of your stars, and you run the same offense as last year just because you're concealing your game plan. There was what, 50,000 people there? I'll guarantee you 25 to 30,000 wouldn't have shown up. A couple who was sitting behind me, very sweet people. I got to talking to them. They drove in from Columbia. They're big Clemson fans. They live in Columbia. They drove in from Columbia. Now, from Columbia to Clemson is what? An hour and 45 minutes? Do you think that they would have drove an hour and 45 minutes to see a glorified practice if they knew that the majority of the players were going to be out? That was worthwhile seeing? Do you think, now they didn't say this to me, I'm just asking this for them. Do you think, I live in the upstate of South Carolina, roughly about an hour from Clemson. I went there to spend time with my sons and my nephew, and I did want to see some of the team. But when I looked out there and I was like, well, good, there's Peter Woods. That's fantastic. I want to see him. There's Cade. Oh, I see Garrett Riley on this side. Man, this is great. This is wonderful. Where's so-and-so? Oh, he's not playing. Oh, well, precautionary reasons. Well, that's good. Well, where's so-and-so? Well, what precautionary reasons? What, so they should have renamed the spring game instead of spring game precautionary reasons. Nobody would have showed up. I'm telling the truth. Well, you got to support the team by no matter what. That's what you showed, and you showed the fan base expecting to try to get season ticket sales solidified by like the next couple of days. That doesn't make sense, folks. I'm in software sales. Okay, I show the very best to my clients. I'm just telling you right now. I show the very best to my clients. I don't show them things that could leave questions in their mind. I don't show them stuff that makes them walking away confused. I show them the ease of use. I show them value. I show them how they save money. I show them how their life will become better. I show them these products. I don't look at them and say, hey, I'm going to show you this is what we do, and it leaves questions. And I totally get why some people are freaked out right now. Because, and I'm going to summarize it right here. We were freaked out over the past 4 years, and we were told we were crazy. Except for that year with LSU. LSU, everybody said that was one of the greatest teams to ever step foot on a college football field, and they were incredible. Remember, we were up 17-7 and forsook the run with Travis Etienne, with Lynn J. Dixon backing him up, with Trevor Lawrence playing quarterback, with T. Higgins on the field, with, I believe, Amari Rodgers was still playing at that time. I don't think he was hurt yet. We had a lot of talent on that team. Isaiah Simmons on the other side. What a freak. Oh, but it's LSU. But ever since then, that's the reason people are freaking out. Now, let me tell you what I think. And first of all, I'm going to get to some of these comments here. So Dale said, I hope we're hiding the good stuff, but I'm a little concerned. I don't blame you. See, that's what I'm talking about. I'm a little concerned. You can't help but have that little man sitting off in the corner, kind of off in the dark, He's got that light that's kind of offset, and he's smoking a cigarette going, "Kid, you don't know what you're in for." Something like that. Some movie. That was a terrible impression. You can't help but pay attention to that, especially after the past 4 years of Clemson football. 2 of those being led by one of the best quarterbacks to ever step on a college football field, and I'm telling you, you lit up in the NFL last year. I'm hoping the very best for him and ETN. I'd love to see him win a Super Bowl in the next few years. That'd be great. Jonathan Benton, offense looked quite similar to the past. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's what I'm saying. That's what freaked out everybody when you started saying wide receiver screen. The defense knew what was coming. One of the rebuttals to what I'm saying right now is, well, the defense knew what was coming, so they brought the pressure on Cade, knowing that he would have to scramble and not stand in the pocket, because even if they nick him with their finger, he's down. And then they knew that the wide receivers who were out. So what they did was just, hey, we're just going to work on this as a just regular practice. Unfortunately, this is the spring game, and yes, though it's a practice, this is your moment that you're trying to market to your fan base what's coming up in the regular season. Like it or not, that's what just happened. Dell said, "I want to come to the game this year. I live 18 hours away. If I can, I hope the place is rocking. It's corner what game you come to. I'll tell you, that Florida State game is going to be rocking. Also, it's going to cost a lot of money. Notre Dame will be rocking. That's going to be a big deal. Remind me, folks, is North Carolina coming to us, or are we going to them? I think they're coming to us, because the last time we played them regular season, we went to them. So I'm pretty sure Drake May and the boys are coming here. What a quarterback. Parker Henderson, my old buddy, he throws in here. It's a great point. Once again, folks, I'm not saying that, the sky's falling for Clemson. No, I'm just saying for the people, and I kind of ride the fence here. And I'm not like a middleman on something. I'm normally like, boom, this is what I believe. This is who I am. It sounds like a good Montgomery Gentry song from the early 2000s. But this one I'm a little split on. I'm leaning way more on the side of missing a lot of players. They're not going to show a lot of stuff. It's glorified practice. It's nothing more. Let it go. But there is that part of me that definitely understands the PTSD of the Clemson fan base. But Parker says this. My thing is, this was a practice. This was a practice that utilizes 98% of the slot receivers and tight ends. You didn't really see at all the rangy wide receivers. It was because they were out. Yeah, they were out. It seemed more of a practice with a focus on the O-line. And I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. So this is probably one of the most, I really don't even know the words. There's a lot of dynamics and a lot of moving parts around this practice, because the Clemson fan base, they're anxious. And you go 60% of a 10-year period being in the college football playoff. And then you go 1 year without it. You go, well, you know what? You can't go every year. And then you get to the next year, and the offense is so terrible. And then you see the head coach who you love start being very un-Dabo-like. And you go, hold on. Is the empire falling? If I'm a South Carolina or Georgia fan, or someone who just absolutely hates Clemson, which those two definitely are the top ones who hates Clemson, I'd be laughing right now. Parker says, I think we and Riley will be just fine. I lean more towards that, but I'm not. I'm 80% sold, yes. I'm 20% sold on, or I'm 20% questionable. I put it that way. Dale says, I hope you're right, Parker. Yeah, Parker, I hope you're right. So just to recap what we saw a lot of turnovers by Klubnik. We saw 2. One of them was almost a pick 6. Remind me if there was another pick 6 by Khalil Barnes, which he was fantastic. Let me tell you this: if there was anything that did come out of this spring game, was Dominique Thomas showing that this former walk-on can play running back. And listen to me, Clemson. I know I know you don't listen to me. I'm a nobody in my bonus room on break. And I'm about to, my computer's right over here. I'm going to go over here and get back to work after I end this video. Okay. So I know I'm a nobody in the grand scheme of Clemson football, but whatever you do, don't forget that Dominique Thomas exists. Don't pull this bull crap of, well, he hadn't been practicing really well, but he gets out on the field and he plays well. Please don't do that. Please don't make that idiotic, dumb decision. Don't let the zeros in your check make you think that you're smarter than what you are. What we saw the other day was a pure baller who laid out one of the best performances I've seen by a nobody. No offense, Dominique, you're somebody. But I'm saying you have the Will Shipleys, you have the Mothas. Everybody knows the name Keith Adams because the great Keith Adams, linebacker from the 90s, 24 tackles against South Carolina in the big rivalry back in the 90s. Hey, man, that's a big deal, okay? That's a big deal. Keith Adams Jr., his son. But, folks, I'm telling you, you can't help but for just a second step back and question all of it. But don't forget those, especially Dominique Thomas. Don't forget it, because I'm going to tell you this. Clemson fans aren't going to forget what they just saw over this weekend. They're not going to forget that. They're not going to forget it. They're not going to go. And another thing, if Clemson coaches would listen to me and I could say something, a fresh Will Shipley will have better production and be healthier than a tired Will Shipley. You have the cast and crew to put them in there, especially in those first 3 weeks, to really make sure he's in tip-top shape for Florida State and that they're in tip-top shape for real game experiences. So please consider that. I know you won't. I'm nobody to you, but I think that would play in your favor. Jonathan Jermaine Woods. Jermaine, I'm glad you're in here. 80-20 is fair. We haven't seen what they can do, and we had half of the offensive starters out. Yeah. I would if I was Sweeney, and I'm not. Can you imagine making that much money? Holy crap! Anyway, if I was Sweeney, of course you're going to say, "Hey, we want the fans to come out," and then I'd have just left it at that, knowing that all those starters are out. Knowing that you're going to run that offense, knowing all of that, or at least say, hey, we've got a lot of players out. We do have a lot of players out. And really vocalize it as much as that invitation to come to Death Valley. Why? So I can see Will Shipley stand on the sideline? Don't think so. And then see a game plan that's going to confuse me? Don't think so. Jonathan Benton, it's tough. Is the defense just really good? Maybe. Was the offense missing people a huge impact? Maybe. Is the offense hiding things? Maybe. But I really wish they had shown ... more. Not sure. I definitely don't want to show Florida State and Notre Dame and North Carolina what we can do. I don't. I don't want them to know anything. I don't want Duke knowing. I mean, Duke had a pretty good season last year. I haven't looked at their roster and seen who they've retained and who they've lost, but they did a really good job. They did a really, really good job of playing last year, considering it's flipping Duke. So, we're not going to walk into Durham and just win by 50. I mean, if we do, I think that's going to prove that the team's better than what they are, unless Duke's lost a ton of people, or better than what they seem. But after that, you have Charleston Southern and Florida Atlantic, and then Florida State in the Valley. It's probably going to be a night game. Dale, that would be the game to come to. The tickets are already through the roof. I mean, even if you're sitting outside of Death Valley, they're going to charge you $250 just to drive by the stadium. But Barry, you're right. Especially televised and study. You're not going to show it, but I think it really spooked the fans. I think the PTSD came in when they were running the what I like to call the Brandon Streeter plays. Screen right, screen left, screen right, screen left, screen. It's getting blown up too. Even one of the I haven't went back and watched it, but on this one particular play in the first half, driving from right to left, Hunter Helms throws a ball to the top of the screen of the TV screen, and it was a screen, and either the blocking wide receiver got blown up so much that he shoved the blocker back into the wide receiver that the pass was intended for, or Hunter. I'm thinking that Hunter actually threw the ball it sailed a little too in front of the wide receiver, and it ended up going into the blocker. I'll have to go back and watch it. But I'm just saying, when you watch plays like that, I mean, you're very much right, Jonathan Benton. It was Rob Spence-esque. And, one of the first things that Dabo did when he was made the interim head coach was the very same day he was made named the interim head coach, back in the infamous day that I'll never forget as a Clemson football fan. What was his first move? He fired Rob Spence. So if you're going to fire a man for calling plays like that, which he ended up doing that to Streeter 1 year. I mean, think about it. He gave him a year and fired him. It's probably not, you could show them anything, just heavy running, then show plays like that, because it's just going to make your fan base lose it. But all right, listen, folks, thank you so much for joining me. It's so good to see everybody here. Parker, Dale, Jermaine, Jonathan, Barry. If I missed anybody, y'all please forgive me. Thank you so much for joining me. Pass this along to anyone else. Let me tell you final thoughts on this. I think Clemson will be fine. We're going to have to overlook the PTSD. Clemson is going to have to show me two things. They're going to show me one of two things. They're going to have to show me that they've improved, or they're going to have to show me, as silly as this sounds, that they haven't improved. And we're not going to find that out until that Florida State game. Unless Duke came in and did shock the world, we're not going to know the true Clemson football team until we watch them play Florida State. And if Florida State is even half as good as everybody says that they're going to be, and Florida State would have to beat LSU. I can tell you right now, LSU, even if LSU beats Florida State, unless it's a beat down, you'll still have to respect Florida State. But it's going to be an interesting game. We will not know who Clemson is until that Florida State game. So, Clemson fans, here's what I'm going to say to you. It's what I'm having to say to myself. Enjoy the fact that we do have the talent that's coming back. Enjoy the fact that the talent that we do have majority of it didn't play. I mean, the offense or the defensive line, the majority of the defensive starters, starting with XT, Maskell, they didn't even play this past week. Tyler Davis barely played, I think. He barely played, if played at all. I think he tried out there for a couple of plays and he was done. So we did not see what Clemson has to offer. And we're hoping in play calling we're not seeing what Clemson had to offer. But just enjoy the first 3 weeks. Enjoy it. Remember, this is a game. I like to talk about the game and stuff, but I do like to leave some perspective. This is just a game. And we all get fired up over somebody else's $1 million contract. Well, I'm not going to lose it too bad over and lose my dignity because of someone else's bad coaching, and they still get a payout if they get fired. So, I'm not saying there was bad coaching over the weekend, but I'm just saying sometimes I've done that. But we have a lot to look forward to. We have a lot of talent. Just kind of tell that guy who's sitting off in the corner going, remember the last 4 years, as he smokes his cigarette. Tell him, hold on to that thought until the Florida State game. And at the end of the Florida State game, if they come out there and just absolutely outcoach us, they absolutely outplay us, and our coaching looks benign, and it looks kind of like what we saw at the spring game, then I'll have to tell everybody who thought we were crazy for even questioning it. That's what I mean. Well, you were wrong. But we will definitely see. Hopefully we are wrong. Hopefully Clemson has improved, especially in the coaching, because we have the talent to compete at a very, very high level. Things to fix, obviously offensive line, and we got to stay healthy. But I think we have a really good path ahead of us. Tiger Paul Craven diving in here, and I'm ending the show. Can you believe it? I can't wait to be shocked when he plays on opening weekend. Barry, you're not going to be shocked too much with opening plays because I don't think they're going to do it against Duke. I think that for the first 3 weeks, they're going to pound it out because they can. And they just have elite talent over Duke, Charleston Southern, and Florida Atlantic. You're going to see the plays. If they are hiding stuff, and logic says they would, they're going to hide it for that Florida State game, because so far, if you look across the cascade of the schedule, the Florida State game is the toughest game we have on the schedule. So we will see. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you take care of yourself. If you hadn't subscribed, subscribe. Remember, it's free. Thumbs up, pass it around to your buddies. Y'all take care, and I'll catch you next time.